I just got a message from upstairs. You know what that message says? It says, I got to sell, or we got to sell 80,000 tires in the next month, or I'm going to die. Go to Allied Discount Tires, please.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. Barbenheimer! You still
Barbenheimer
alive?
World. It is. It is still alive.
It is still alive and thriving. We are the Mattitude Eric. I'm Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hey, everyone. A little raspy this week. Little sicky, but we'll get through.
He's got that sexy Kathleen Turner voice.
I do.
That smoky lounge singer.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. Yeah.
He's got that Hope Sandoval, Mazzy Star crooning voice that we all long for. Yeah, we're cutting it short this week.
We say that. We're not cutting it short, Matt.
Sure we are. Well, we're skipping an entire segment. We're not going to
right.
no good. Turns out there are no good things this week.
No, there are good things.
No good things, at least, that we want to recommend. No, we're just skipping the good things to enjoy part this week. Again, we've done it before, and we've said that everyone still has a crazy backlog of things to watch. So I'm sure you all have your own personal list that you need to get to. If you even dabble into our recommendations, we're forever grateful. But yeah, we don't need to add to that. If we can cut a segment, let's do that, since there's a lot of box office news to discuss this week, as well as perhaps the cause of Eric Goldman's cruddy feeling right now, even though he is currently COVID-free, Comic-Con, which Eric got back from Sunday night and was a participant in all the way through, including he was even on a panel and did a lot of interviews and stuff. Eric, how is your not celebrity free, but celebrities promoting movies and TV free Comic-Con this year?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm thankfully COVID free after taking a test every day, but con crud is real, guys, and it got me this year. But my Comic-Con was fun. It was, every single conversation you had at Comic-Con, whenever you'd run into people, we'd all go, weird year, huh? Because it was. The whole, lack of any of the movie studio stuff, and the fact that any TV shows that came, well, I shouldn't say any movie studio stuff, but almost none, that TV shows were just doing screenings, and, some directors came for movies, but very little. And it was an interesting year because, look, it was still packed. It was still a good time. It lacked that sort of extra layer of rock show feel, I'd say, because you didn't have these like huge
literally rock show feel, because it didn't have like the Rock suspended in midair as Black Adam,
exactly
shooting lasers at everyone. Yeah,
because I went into Hall H once. I went in there for the Spider-Man 2 game panel, and it was really crowded. Like, well, not really crowded, but okay, Hall H 6,500 people. I'd say there was about 4,000 people in there. So it's a lot of people, but that means you could easily get a seat in a way you can't usually. Still a lot of people. So a lot of people cheering and happy to get information on and see footage from a game we're all excited for, but it lacked that like just extra like, oh my God, like, huge rock show feel, while still being a really fun time. So there was still plenty to see. There was people I know who never gone to Comic-Con before, and I said it sounds weird to tell you. This is scaled down when there's still thousands of people, so much to see and do. You could tell the studios didn't know there was going to be these strikes months ago, because there was more activations, Matt, I think, than ever. Like, there were so many.
They had like a Roseanne activation.
They did. I didn't get to the Roseanne one. So for those who don't know, these are the offsite stuff that the studio set up that you don't even have to have a badge. You can just go into.
A lot of people actually will just, especially if it's, if it's within driving distance, like you're a Californian or something, will drive to San Diego just to go to the activations, because
socialize
con tickets. But
yeah, you could do a lot. And Jurassic Park did a big 30th anniversary one where they like recreated moments from the movie with all these photo ops. There was a really excellent interview with the vampire one. I still haven't seen the show, but obviously I know the story.
Well, I saw some video online where they recreated like sort of a French Quarter street.
Yeah, they did a whole street with all these performers, and it just looked great. So yeah, like there was just a ton of stuff going on. You just didn't have that one extra layer of like that, like, oh my God, did you hear moments of like either like, big sort of like stunty moments or announcements Obviously, you didn't have the Marvel Studios like Saturday night like mega panel thing. So yeah, it was a strange year for that not being part of it, yet it was still a very fun and busy year. There was still plenty to do with it all.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good time with the parties
Thank
and that.
you.
And so, yeah, and your panel. How was your panel? You were a part of a what would normally be a TV guide, like fan favorites actors panel from
Right.
TV shows, and now became a TV journalist panel with you and Chris Hayner and Tamara and some other people, right?
Yeah, TV Guide magazine, not the same as TV Guide.
Right.
But TV Guide magazine always does this panel. This year, obviously, there were no actors, so Damian Holbrook from TV Guide magazine reached out to a few of us and said, "Hey, what if we turn this into sort of just like a panel about, it's fan favorites in a different way, about fans and being a fan and covering this stuff and what's it like from our perspective." I thought it was really good. It was I'll be completely candid here because it was in Ballroom 20, which sits 4,000 people.
I would have been extremely nervous and probably said no to it. So,
bravo
to your courage.
Thank you. I wasn't extremely nervous, but I did think, look, this might be pretty empty because a lot of things were emptier, obviously, just because that's, like I said, with Hall H, I was in one of the more crowded panels with Spider-Man 2. There were others that were a lot less crowded. That's the nature of this year. So I did think, okay, we're going to be in Ballroom 20. It might be, I don't know. It's going to be a couple hundred people.
That wouldn't be my fear, though. I'd want it to only be a few hundred.
Oh,
not thousands.
Why?
Less people looking at me.
Oh, I mean, I've moderated in Ballroom 20.
I know.
But anyway, there was a decent crowd, and I thank everyone who came out there. And I thought everyone was great. So yeah, no, I think that went really well. I moderated a panel for Third Eye, which is an Audible drama from Felicia Day. She created it, and she is the star with a lot of other people in it. And the panel was her, Jonah Ray Rodriguez, and London Hughes, who's a British comedian and actress who's, they're all three are in. Well, Jonah directed it, and then Felicia wrote and directed and starred in it. London is one of the other actors. And they were allowed to be there because audio dramas do not fall under SAG guidelines.
Now, just like Tony Todd for Spider-Man 2, video games also do not.
Right. And Jamie Lee Curtis was there for a comic book she wrote. So there were some actors there for projects they could talk about. They just couldn't talk about, they wanted to be respectful of the strike. So, they didn't want to talk about, Jonah and Felicia met, or I don't know if they met, but they worked on Mystery Science Theater. Well, they didn't want to talk directly about Mystery Science Theater. They didn't want to talk about anything. Again, it's like the thing that you're not talking about, things you're kind of striking against. So it's like, you wanted to be respectful of that. But I thought that panel went really well too, with, a good crowd. So I think, people, the Comic-Con audience is, there to have a good time. And I think everyone understood this is an odd year. And yes, some rooms aren't going to be as full as they usually are. And you certainly aren't going to see every movie star ever, but I think people had a good time with what they go to. And I went to a panel, Matt, just for funsies, that was about the 1980s Dungeons and Dragons animated series.
I'm jealous of that. I'm so jealous of that. Did they talk about how the final episode was recorded as an audio play because it never got produced?
Unfortunately, they did not talk about that. But
so the whole point of that show is that they're trying to get home, and they never got home.
Yeah,
except in the final episode, which was never produced into animation. And so it was read aloud at one point as an audio play. They read the script. But so as far as a lot of people watching, including myself, watching that TV show as a kid were concerned, they never got home, which makes sense when you watch the new Honor Amongst Thieves movie, which is why I think if they do make a new one with a smaller budget, which someone, they have given me hope may happen.
Right, Brian Robbins in his big interview. Yeah,
I know. But I would really like the cast of Honor Amongst Thieves to follow back home the Dungeons and Dragons people, and then you save a lot of money because you just film it here.
Because then it becomes Master of the Universe movie.
It does. Okay, I should clarify. I don't mind moderating panels. I don't mind people perceiving me if I have to moderate something because I'm also not the focal point. I'm up there, but they want to see the people on the panel. It's if I was a panelist, that's when I would be like, ooh. Because I would, especially in that situation, I would just fear that they all resented me for being up there in place of Katie Sackhoff or somebody. Which I'm upset. I'm not Katie Sackhoff too, but
I'm upset you're not Katie Sackhoff.
You should be. You should be doing this podcast with Katie Sackhoff. But Eric, let's talk about the Barbenheimer phenomenon and how it is this year's saved cinema. Tom Cruise, unlike last year,
no longer the president of movies.
No longer the president of movies because of Barbenheimer and because of also this crowded summer, because we've got Haunted Mansion moving in this weekend, and with people wanting to give as many screens as they can to Barbenheimer, like Tom Cruise is losing a lot of screens, and that movie is going to be one of the not a flash bomb, but it's going to be until somebody builds a bigger bomb. It's going to be one of the disappointments of the summer, unfortunately.
Had a notable drop second weekend where the other Mission Impossible movies tend to have decent drops their second weekend. But this one ran into a freight train.
It did, but I also still think you are eliminating a lot of, even though this movie got great reviews, I think it's the highest rated like Rotten Tomato score for any Mission Impossible movie. I think you eliminate repeat viewings, not with just the elimination of theaters, but with a story that's not finished. I just think that there's inherently sometimes you're going to get, instead of somebody going back maybe to see it a second time, they don't, because it's just not a finished thing. I felt that way with Fast X 2, even though there are other things that were sort of
I don't think it's a small factor, but I think more it's just
Oh, where'd you go? Okay, go ahead. Other factors? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just I think I mean this was first and foremost a terrible release date. This was not the only problem with Dungeons and Dragons, but Paramount is kind of getting some flack for being bad with their release date choices, because D&D opened in a very busy March and people wondered why. And then this movie opening a week before two massive movies, one of which we knew was going to take all the IMAX screens, much to Tom Cruise's chagrin.
Yes, and we knew that ahead of time. That was like a news story.
Right. Yeah. And there was a lot of questions like, hey, well, why not release Mission Impossible end of summer or beginning of fall? It seems like this is not a great, it seems like you're kind of handicapping yourself going into it. And that's exactly what seems to have happened. But I mean, we should flip it around and just say, holy shit on the Barbenheimer of it all, because this was absolute best case scenario. Even as the hype was growing on this weekend and these two movies, the fact that they both opened so well and that Barbie could be the number one movie of the year, it might beat Mario.
And the fact that like both of these movies are still doing well after their opening weekend during the work week.
Yep.
That people are still going out on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays to see these movies, and that's not to say that Oppenheimer won't drop Droppenheimer at some point. Barbie will continue to be this phenomenon. Barbie will outlast the Barbenheimer a bit, but together, at what once was a joke and then became a bizarre feud, turned into this camaraderie between people who like movies from probably two of the most different projects you could think of, from a toy IP and historical biopic, from you could say like intellectual indie directors. At least Nolan was at one point an indie director. That a lot of comparisons brought up the Dark Knight Mamma Mia co-release years back, but that wasn't given any sort of packaging. That wasn't given, that was way before the internet started to like obsess about bizarre phenomenon and memeify things. So, but yeah, everything, all boats rose with the tide, right? Like and they both beat their projections by a lot. I was hoping, I would say a few months ago, that they would just split the weekend 50-50 and they would each make like $50 million and then sort of do okay. But man, they just
no, I mean, look, we should say, I think no matter what, these two movies were going to end up being big hits, whether they open the same date or not. I think that they both were offering things people wanted. Barbie especially was like, I think like you felt this growing hype and excitement, and it was poised to be like Super Mario Brothers, another like beloved longtime IP. Like, hey, they did this thing the way we want it done, and everyone's happy, and it's a thing. It's an event. It's a true event movie. Oppenheimer, Nolan is one of the few directors that, like, literally movies open on his name, like more than the actor's name. And I think Oppenheimer was going to be a hit too. But I do think it ended up only benefiting them both. That it gave them both an extra little boost, that it became this thing. Literally, people were like, I'm going to watch them back to back, whether it was for the bit or not. I wonder if Nolan will ever be able to admit that, because he's right that it was a dick move on Warner Brothers' part to put Barbie on this date, because Oppenheimer was there first. And it was a weird move because, of course, he'd left Warner Brothers under, like, I'm not happy with your circumstances, although apparently they're trying to get him back.
Well, they just
now.
gave him a big fat check to try to get him back.
Yeah. But I wonder if he can now begrudgingly admit, like, it only helped. Again, I don't think
it was a fluke, though. It was a fluke, though. It was not by Warner Brothers design. They were not.
No,
let's
of course
help
not.
Nolan out.
Of course not. And again, Oppenheimer would have been a hit no matter what, I think. But I think this goosed it a little bit with the eventing of it all, and people literally wearing their Barbenheimer outfits. Think about how many less Oppenheimer memes there would have been, Matt.
I know. First of all, Oppenheimer kind of had no business being a July release in general.
Except that it's a Nolan movie, and he always opens.
So the fact that, like, Nolan is, but it's not even like Tenet, which tried to welcome people back to cinema and failed because it was too soon, and also the movie wasn't as well received as other Nolan movies.
Yeah,
was an action movie. It was like not time travel, or whatever, reverse.
No, but it was much more
like,
of it.
But like, I really liked Tenet, and I'm sad I never actually did see it on the big screen. But like, that was like a summer movie. This is going to be an Oscar contender, as well as I'm curious about Barbie as well. I think we'll see Oppenheimer again come Oscar season, where they may go toe to toe in a few categories.
Yeah,
but
I think best supporting actor is like Downey versus Gosling is very likely. Yeah,
Barbie, though, not just because. So one of these is designed to be seen over and over again, just because it's pleasing and fun. The other one is long and also sort of disturbing and traumatic and think PC, and is going to have less people seeing it again. I think people are seeing it for the first time more than they would have because of the Barbenheimer phenomenon. But I'm just saying, Barbie is designed to play in the summer and for a repeat viewing, kind of like Top Gun Maverick. It's going to get people going back over and over again to see it because it's hilarious. It has excellent messaging. It's, the Brady Bunch movie crawled, so a lot of these movies can walk, where you get the people coming into our real world and being like, acting the way that they are in their world. I love that. One of the things I love about the Brady Bunch movie is that it's never explained. That's one of the strengths of those movies, is that they didn't come from like a 70s TV portal. No, they just exist.
Right.
But yeah, Barbie is phenomenal. But yeah, we didn't do a Barbenheimer breakout episode, but we both love the movie. So
yeah, but I mean, let's just mention, like, Oppenheimer made over 80 million opening weekend.
Crazy for that
in
movie.
3-hour R-rated, mostly talking movie. That is absolutely fantastic, and I do think it's going to have good legs, Matt. I mean, of course, the first 3 weeks it's going to be helped by 3 weeks of IMAX and all that stuff.
For a movie that, like, spoilers for Oppenheimer, the last hour of the movie is a 2 separate depositions. It's like they get the Trinity explosion, like, out of the way mid movie, and then the rest of the movie is literally just testimony.
It's a lot of testimony, but it's very riveting testimony. So yeah, 80 million, insane. 82 million, absolutely insane. And then the fact that Barbie makes over 160 million, biggest opening weekend of the year, and just like, it's just insane. And I was looking yesterday, I was like, holy shit, like, Barbie might become Warner Brothers' biggest hit ever, because their biggest hit ever is Deathly Hallows 2 with 1.3 billion, and we only have 1 week of Barbie.
Barbie will beat that.
But it does feel like it might happen. So just absolutely insane. Everything, like, just worked out as well as it could for both these movies. which I do think are both going to, benefit very well for the remainder of the summer. But it is unfortunate for Mr. Hunt and Mr. Cruz that, this is definitely, I was looking at the totals of the last few Bishop Oscars. I was like, I think this is going to make less than the last 3 of them based on how it's projecting. And just especially it's like domestic. Again, we should say in history, Mission Impossible has never been, as we mentioned, an actual $1 billion grossing movie series. It's beloved, but it's not like reached that sort of upper echelon. But it does feel like Fallout might have been their peak now. And I think a lot of people were surprised by that because Fallout was so well received and people thought this might get kind of a Top Gun Maverick boost. I did too. If nothing else, I thought this was going to beat Fallout. But I do think they sort of shot themselves in the foot with that release date. It hopefully will stabilize, now that.
Well, this is my revenge on the franchise for the fate of a certain character. So
right. It is weird, right? That Fast X and Dead Reckoning, and you could say, look, even though Mission Impossible is a weirdly performing series and Fallout was their highest grossing one, you're still over 25 years in, 7 movies in, so you would naturally think like, hey, like, it's you will peak at this point. Fast X, over 20 years in at their 10th movie. It is still funny that both movies, this is when they decided to go on their 2-parter. So it's like they're kind of committed to, in one case with Mission Impossible, they filmed most of the next movie. They're going to make the next movie. It's just kind of a weird thing that it's not like, this like peaking like they'd want it to, this is not, especially because both movies were the most expensive of their respective series.
And I think, but things were more expensive because of
COVID for sure. It wasn't the only reason with both of them, but then it got all this extra, the budget then skyrocketed even more because of COVID. So I
mean, Tom Cruise should still love this because he just wants people to go to the movies, right?
He
like
loves
any movie,
popcorn
movies, popcorn. I did not get to Barbenheimer in a day. I split it up over a few days. I had things to do. I was dog sitting. I was doing some stuff, but I did like at the end of the, doubtful we'll do an Oppenheimer breakout, but like there's a historic name drop at the end of Oppenheimer. It's supposed to be like this really like fucking like on your left end game moment where
it's a little weird in Oppenheimer to have what almost feels like a sequel setup.
It feels like the Joker card flip at the end of Batman Begins.
Yep.
Where it's like, yeah,
it's happening.
But anyway, I love both movies, very different movies. I love them both for different reasons. But Barbie is the one afterward that I was like, I want to see that again, like sooner than later. Oppenheimer I would like to see again at some point, right? Like so.
Yeah. And then I just want to mention 2 other things with box office, which is we should just acknowledge the nobody saw coming success of Sound of Freedom. No one was saying this will be in the top 10 movies of the summer, domestically at least, going in.
The QAnon child trafficking Sound of Freedom headline by Jim Caviezel, who's
this will bring in more money than Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning in the US.
Sad state of affairs, very depressing news. But
absolutely crazy. Here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie and I don't think I'm going to see the movie. I've heard from people say the thing about this movie is Jim Caviezel, an actor that we both like as an actor and we both love Person of Interest, and I think would still recommend.
I don't even know if I like him as an actor. I like the show he was on. As an actor, he's not tremendous.
He does this one underplaying thing, but I think he can do it well. But he has turned full QAnon lunatic, and
he's always been a bit of a religious lunatic, always, going back to Angel Eyes, the J-Lo movie he was in, and other stuff coming up his acting career. But
but now he's like full total conspiracy theory, believes absolutely batshit insane stuff. I will say I've talked to people and I've seen people talk about like Dan Merle who've seen this movie and say the movie itself, is it's not quite right to say the movie is a QAnon movie, even though there's a lot of kind of bullshit around the movie and the fact that the guy he's playing, there's a lot of like, is this guy completely making up shit about his life to make himself sound like a better person? And the fact that this movie, which was filmed in 2018, since then, like Caviezel's gone so all in on the QAnon thing, and I think at this point, this
movie was filmed in 2018. I had no idea.
Oh, Yes, it was. Yeah. And so at once upon a time, it was going to be distributed by 20th Century Fox when that was a company. So, I've heard if you watch the movie doesn't go into QAnon bullshit, there is some bullshit involved with the guy it's about. Who is a guy who's like, I save kids from child traffickers, but there's a lot of things where it seems like he's inflated stories or put himself places he wasn't. Meanwhile, Jim Caviezel has gone full QAnon, which involves a lot of total crazy conspiracy theories that do involve child trafficking, which I guess Matt and I have to say it, though I'd hope is implicit. We're against child trafficking, guys, but not this, this crazy bullshit where they like take a terrible thing that happens and then they make their bullshit conspiracy theories is awful and only harms, it does damage. So there's just this movie, there's like an ickiness around it, even though you can say like, hey, of course, there's people who are like, I guess you support child trafficking if you're against Sound of Freedom. No, but I definitely don't support Jim Caviezel. And there's a lot of questions around this movie. And, we can acknowledge the weirdness of this whole pay it forward program they do with the movie. The movie literally ends with Jim Caviezel on screen saying, hey, I'm Jim Caviezel, and buy tickets for other people to see this movie with a QR code.
And so but there's no way of knowing if people showed up to claim those tickets, right?
Right. I don't think it's all bullshit in that I know that there's a lot of reports of empty theaters, as in people like actually checking this out for themselves and seeing it. But I think, Matt, it's probably a geographic thing, and it's crowded exactly where you think it's going to be crowded in the country, right? And actually full, and then not in other parts of the country. People are paying. Look, even if you could say they're gullible and it's weird and whatever, people are paying. It's like this is happening, that money is being spent on this movie. So it's not like a bullshit thing where like a company's paying itself. It's all weird, and it's also bizarre just on a box office level, because this movie is going to be one of the biggest hits of the summer in domestic. I don't think it's going to be internationally like that, but it is beating Mission Impossible, which is fucking insane. So yeah, just absolutely.
And then there
strange.
were the things where the conspiracy theorists who go see this movie thought there was a conspiracy behind some of the theaters' sound getting messed up or picture getting messed up, and
which is so funny
that it was AMC theaters sabotaging it, because the first thing AMC theaters wants to do is not make money on a movie that they're showing,
and because it's getting people who don't go to the movies a lot and just don't know that a lot of terrible.
So that's what it sounds like. It absolutely sounds like people who don't go out and pay money to go to the movies, experiencing what it's like to be a modern moviegoer in 2023, and experiencing technical difficulties. And but they have to make a bizarre conspiracy to do about everything and think that deep state's behind ruining their enjoyment of Sound of Freedom. Okay.
When I went to see
AMC theaters had to actually put out a statement saying you're all crazy. So
and even the distributor, I will say, did say that they don't think that this is a true conspiracy thing. Yeah, Matt, when I saw Venom Let There Be Carnage opening night at the AMC City Walk IMAX and it broke halfway through, I was like, this is a conspiracy. They're trying to stop people from seeing this movie and its message. And I went on a big rant on TikTok about it.
Yeah. Kevin Feige did this because he doesn't want the Sony-verse Spider-Man movies.
Believe this. And then the last box office thing I just want to mention is the incredible legs of Elemental. Which opened incredibly disappointing, seemed to be like, oh, is Pixar just completely like done? And a lot of that is self-sabotage by Chapek, and the fact that they put so many other movies straight to Disney Plus, Turning Red seeming to be kind of the point of no return, because that movie I think would have been a hit in theaters. And also was kind of past the point where people felt like this is necessary. It felt like they'd really trained their audiences to be like, Pixar, that's a Disney Plus brand, to a kind of sad degree for a once proud brand. Also, because I think Elemental is really good. Elemental has had maybe the best legs of the summer. I think if you look, I think last weekend has Barbenheimer was doing insane. I can't remember its drop last weekend. It was like 9% or it was crazy. Like it continues to hold incredibly well, which obviously shows that the word of mouth is really good. It will not make a profit in theaters because it costs $200 million and it opened really weakly, but it does seem like this is the rebuilding movie. This is the we're getting our mojo back movie. It's going to make about $400 million, which seemed impossible from its opening weekend. So it is I still think that they have to chalk this up as a success, given the perception coming out of opening.
I mean, they were also very lucky that no other kids/family movie opened in a big way.
Oh, because Ruby Gillman was not gonna take. Yeah. So
because Haunted Mansion's opening up, but like I don't know,
and that's getting a very weak response.
And same thing with like Barbie was like there was all of these conversations that you even talked about last time, which is like how old should my kid be to see Barbie? It kind of gets pretty mature at points as far as taking little kids and like what they might enjoy and the humor and the messaging, but not that the messaging isn't good. It's like, will they understand it? Doesn't matter.
Right. And by the way, I was very pleasantly surprised it got an A cinema score. I thought it might be lower because I thought there might be some people that are like, oh, I took my kids to this and this isn't what I wanted. It seems like everyone kind of just embraced it. So I
want to say that I found a TikTok where somebody went to all the negative Barbie reviews on Letterboxd and looked at that person's profile and their favorite movies, and it was The Godfather was in each one of them. So I thought that was
fun. Yeah. It's a weird. What a wild box office. What a wild.
Yeah, and you dropped out. Come back to me, Eric.
Is it just my hand in front of my mouth?
No, you're fine. Okay. Let's skip this good things to enjoy. I have one, but we're gonna wait till next week. We're gonna do it. And as we move forward with our final 1983 pick, next week's main event will be my pick, Blue Thunder. Now, Eric, 1983 is a weird year. Obviously, Return of the Jedi cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
And but there's like a lot of cool movies that I would have picked. Like I feel like my area here is picking like bizarre animated or sci-fi movies, but we really kind of drained 83 of that already. There weren't that many. Return of the Jedi took up all that space. Krull was the other biggest like fantasy sci-fi movie, and the biggest we already did the biggest only animated movie, which was Fire and Ice, which was like such a small movie in comparison to other theatrical animated releases. So but then there's Stephen King movies, but we might want to do a Stephen King run. There's Cronenberg movies, but we might want to do a Cronenberg run. There's Vacation, but maybe we want to do the Vacation movies. The Keep, I considered The Keep. It's not streaming anywhere, right? I even considered, Eric, Never Say Never Again, because that's like we have James Bond at home, James Bond, which came out the same year as Octopussy, and it was Sean Connery's return to the role in sort of a the non Bond remake of Thunderball. But could I have picked Daniel with Timothy Hutton because I'm in it, Eric, in the background of a scene on the beach.
You should have absolutely done that one.
Eric, should I have picked Rumblefish the as part of the Hinton verse, which
to
we're doing in the main event today?
If it has a rumble, because The Outsiders has a rumble.
That's what I'm saying. When they mentioned the rumble, I was like, is that what Rumblefish is about?
Is it all? Yeah, it would be great if it was turned out to be one big story.
I usually at the top, I mention the main event, and I didn't today. It's The Outsiders. Today was all sort of, we were consumed with Barbenheimer and Comic-Con. But The Outsiders, we're about to talk about it. It's a sort of a fascinating look at this author who within a 2 or 3 years time period had like a lot of her work adapted into movies by kind of the same people over and over again.
With several of the same actors.
I know, with like the same stars doing it, like Dylan and Estevez and Lane appearing, and Coppola doing 2 of them,
and Tom Waits.
Okay, so I didn't pick Rumblefish. I picked Blue Thunder. It's an action movie. I remember only kind of seeing it once on VHS as a kid. I don't even think I had seen Jaws at that point, Eric. I think I didn't really know even who Roy Scheider was.
No, I saw this before Jaws. I saw this in the theater though. My dad took me to it. I remember that.
It is I guess maybe you can say it's sci-fi because it's sort of like high-tech 5 minutes from now gadgetry for 1983. Sure. But it is connected to our 1983 run because it was a big year for John Badham, and this is his second movie opening
and it's connected to it because it came out in 1983.
No, what I'm saying, like there's other things I could have done. I could have done Rumblefish too, but this is another John Badham movie who did War Games, which we did a few weeks ago. Yeah. And Blue Thunder, easily viewable on Hulu. So I thought that might be a refreshing thing for some of our listeners. I don't remember much about the movie except there's a helicopter and it's kind of an action movie. I don't know if it holds up at all or how it's regarded these days, but we're going to watch the hell of it. Blue Thunder, I believe, is the name of the helicopter, sort of this experimental war.
Yeah, I don't remember any details. I just remember weird, 80s. It's so funny, like, because at this point, the 80s, because of Stranger Things and all this, like, kids today, literally kids, have a pop culture idea of the 80s because it continues to be this, like, prevalent use in pop culture. But there are stuff that is a very funny, like, you had to be there thing, like the fact that ninjas, like the fact that there was ninjas were just like so hot right now, and they were in all
a lot of
but
ninjas.
Also helicopters, because there was Blue Thunder, the movie. There was Airwolf and Riptide, which were two different TV shows where people had helicopters.
Was Airwolf a TV show or a movie?
It was a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Clint Eastwood helicopter movie, or am I making that up in my head?
I feel like there might have been.
Possibly.
No. There's one where he's a jet fighter pilot. But
jet fighter. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
that's like the Top Gun phenomenon.
Probably. I think it's actually similar to Blue Thunder in that I do think he's flying like a 5 minutes from now tech.
I do. The only other thing I remember about Blue Thunder,
Foxfire, was that what?
That's it. Foxfire.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right about the helicopter.
No, it's Firefox. I had it reversed. Firefox. Year before, 82.
There was a very short-lived Blue Thunder TV show, and I don't remember the lead of it, but I remember Bubba Smith was in it. But that came out kind of soon after this movie.
People should Google the Firefox poster with Clint Eastwood in a flight suit, a black flight suit.
I kind of remember that. That's why I think that's what made me think of the movie is the poster, because I was like, I remember a poster with Clint Eastwood, and I was like, I think there was a helicopter. And I just couldn't remember the name of it, or if I imagined it. All right, Blue Thunder next week. Watch it on Hulu. It's got Roy Scheider and some other people I'm sure will be like, hey, that guy. So we'll see. John Badham, director of War Games. All right, let's get into The Outsiders. Based on a famous book, directed by a famous director, starring would-be famous people.
A crazy, like every single actor thing of like, they would all, some of them would become actual megastars, but they all like led movies, at least in the 80s. So pretty when they're all walking together, it's like, well, damn, like this was, the casting. By the way, was on point.
So much of this movie I'm watching, I'm like, where are the other outsiders? Are they all outside? Where is everybody? Like, what's happening? Like, it took so long to get all these people together to make me feel like it warranted the poster of the movie where they're all together. I'm like, I haven't seen three of these people.
I mean, because clearly C. Thomas Howell and Ralph Macchio are the leads. Matt Dillon's kind of like the next, it's like the three of them, and then there's the other guys, even though the other guys are all huge stars.
That's the other thing. Yeah. So, okay, I want to mention this. It's a tight 90. But normally I would enjoy that. There are so many missing scenes from this. And when I read about the movie afterwards, I was like, oh, that's why we never saw Diane Lane again. Oh, that's why this scene didn't happen. That's why there's so many scenes left out of this cut of the movie that you watch on, what did we watch it on? Paramount? I can't remember.
We watched it on Max, I think.
Max. Yeah. This is so much happens off screen in this
is
movie.
The studio mandated cut a bunch of the movie out version.
Yeah, and it feels like it. It feels like there's so much missing from this movie. This movie comes from S.E. Hinton. Now, I'd never read the book or seen the movie until this is my first experience with it, other than knowing the "Stay Gold Pony Boy" quote.
Yes.
That's all I knew from it. I didn't know what that meant. Was it like "Stay Fresh Cheese Bags"? I don't know if it was a way to sign off. Like that, this is the way everyone left a room. Like, say Gold Pony Boy. I have no idea. I may have known the "Do It for Johnny" line somewhere. But
You
I knew
did,
that,
even though you might not have known it was from this.
yeah, I just know that this movie had greasers in it. It's a bunch of Mutt Williams running around this movie.
Yes, it's a bunch. It's a litter of mutts.
Also, after watching Barbie, it's a lot of Kens. There's a huge Ken fight in the middle of this movie, literally, that I wish they'd broken into song for.
Oh, this movie is, I mean, 1 degree away from musical. I mean, obviously, it feels very West Side Story, except without the actual musical numbers.
S.E. Hinton, kind of a phenomenon as an author. She wrote a series of books in high school. She was a teenager, wrote a book about teenagers in around Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 60s, and is largely credited with being a pioneer of the YA genre.
Yeah.
And Mike, at least one, if not more, of my kids actually did read and watch this movie in middle school. So they knew this movie. I didn't know this movie. This was not a book we read in school. But at one point in the early 80s, the cinema went S.E. Hinton crazy, and the Hintonverse was created. Also, the books were a shared universe. So it was sort of also an early experiment with that, something that we would see in books later with Stephen King and other authors, and then, of course, in a big way with movies. And then Francis Ford Coppola would come in to direct 2 of these movies that would come out in the same year.
Released in the same year.
Yeah. Apparently convinced to make this movie by a librarian from Fresno, California, in her classroom. Mm-hmm. And then I guess he also made Rumblefish for the hell of it, because they had all the sets and they had Matt Dillon. I don't know. And I think Diane Lane's in that movie. I don't.
She is.
So, but yeah, and then Matt Dillon would also be in a separate movie called Tex, which
he was already, that was the year before. So
with Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of this wasn't. I guess some of these guys were the Brat Pack, but the Brat Pack I always associate more with St. Elmo's Fire. But that also had Rob
Lowe and Emilio Estevez. The two of them are in this movie, Matt.
But is Diane Lane Brat Pack? I guess so.
I think she's adjacent. And I think if you look at the Brat Pack, it's like, you've got like the core, and then you've got like the reserve members, like the Avengers.
Let me tell you why I like the Brat Pack more than the Frat Pack, which was the aughts version, comedic, of comedies.
Yes, the Apatow adjacent crew.
Apatow adjacent, but also not Apatow, like old school and stuff like that. Like those types of comedies with Vince Vaughn. And is that the Brat Pack had more pronounced women. Like there were actresses who are adjacent to the Frat Pack, but like the Brat Pack was more inclusive, I felt, as far
with Molly Ringwald being like,
and Ali Sheedy,
but Molly Ringwald was like one of the biggest stars. Like she was like, at the time she was, a huge star.
Remember when she decided to do like a serious drama with Andrew McCarthy called Fresh Horses? I have no idea what that movie's about. I feel like it's another Naked Lunch scenario or Rumblefish scenario where it's like there are no fresh and there's no horses.
Yeah, I think you're
fresh
right.
Horses.
I do remember that title existing. So I'd seen this movie before, but decades ago. I remembered, very loosely. I mean, of course, I remember a bunch of famous people, greasers, and I spoilers for Outsiders, guys. I remembered that there was a death, and I was pretty sure it was Macchio. I did not remember the specifics. I certainly was shocked when it was like how he gets injured. Like I didn't remember any of that. I would have thought he was killed.
That's such a bizarre scene too. Why was everyone going? Why were there so many people at the dilapidated, rundown church with children?
I know.
What's happening? So many things just happen without that. I felt. Here's the thing. There are times when it's like there's too much hand holding going on with the movies with a voiceover narration, and this movie needed that. This movie needed way more narration.
The way it begins, you actually it feels like C. Thomas Howell might narrate the movie too.
Let's talk about the way it begins. Let's get into it, which is that first of all, everyone in this movie is a Stephen King bully. Secondly, it opens with Ponyboy writing in a composition notebook something, and I'm like, am I supposed to know? Is he supposed to be a writer later? I don't know what this means. And the funniest part about that scene is what he's writing is like, as I came out of the movie theater, blah blah blah, is a scene that got cut. Like writing about a scene that got cut from the movie, because that's why it doesn't match up with anything that happens in the movie. He had seen a Paul Newman movie in the theater and was walking out and stuff like that. Like, so now it just seems like a random
But he
thing.
does write The Outsiders, so we do know that he is, telling us this story.
Now, I would say that obviously they're the outsiders because they're sort of like on the cusp of society. They're outside looking in. They're the poor kids and stuff like that from the wrong side of the tracks. Also, they're just fucking outside all day. Just go inside. They probably smell terrible. They're just like walking. All they do is walk around and kick
broken
rocks.
home. For Macchio's character, you get, Johnny wouldn't want to go home. But yes, they are the outside kids.
It's funny because when I read about this movie at first, like I read a summary and it's like the greasers, and I thought it was the socks. It's SOCS.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
I'm like, who are the socks? The Socs. Yeah. The Socs are the rich kids. And it's really funny because at one point, Macchio's character is like crying. It's like, I wish there was a world without, or Ponyboy, one of them, the sensitive ones, where like, I wish there was a world without greasers and Socs. I'm like, there very much is.
Yeah, I think that was Johnny who does that part. Yeah.
Overall, I really liked the movie. It's just, I felt like it was kind of kneecapped by the missing scenes. There's the whole parts of this movie where it's like, are they going to get in? Are they going to get arrested? Are they going to court? Is he going to get taken away from his home? And it just sort of all weirdly resolves itself off screen. And then the Cherry, who you're supposed to see again, vanishes after she sees Ponyboy one more time after appearing at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but it is odd how she does. Yeah,
the movie also kind of like, and my expectations of just traditional storytelling, I felt like it was setting up a love story between the two, and it didn't. They barely cross paths.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it not turning into a full love story, but it just feels like her character is supposed to be more prominent. I really like this movie too. It's really interesting that we watched Bram Stoker's Dracula a while back, because there are parallels besides Tom Waits being in both movies for Coppola as far as purposeful melodrama. But I think this is the better movie of the purposeful melodrama. Because it's.
I did still laugh when the train hit the car.
There's definitely cheesy moments, but I felt the like intention a little more here worked, as far as like, this is bigger than life. This is hard on your sleeve. We're really leaning into, this is not meant to feel quote unquote realistic in what's happening. It's all heightened. And on those terms, I did enjoy the movie, even though, there are some moments that don't play great.
I feel like reading the book would have been, obviously it always is, a different experience, a better experience, because I feel like being inside these characters' head a little more and getting maybe a little more descriptions of the people we're meeting, maybe even with some of their backstory. Like, I don't know anything about Tom Cruise's in his rat phase era, like his character, other than he doesn't know how to eat chocolate cake because it's all over his face. Like, I don't know anything about him. Maybe the book.
He seems like the wild one. He's the one screaming during the fight at the end. He's like, he's the least defined of all of them, but I think he's like the crazy one. I
guess what I'm getting at is like, at the point when Ponyboy and Johnny are hiding out outside of town in the church, and they're spending a week there, and he starts quoting Robert Frost, and it's like, we have no idea that he's into books or reading or learning, or like he's the poetic one or anything like that. It just kind of comes out from there. It's like, there's no setup for that. It's like, oh, I guess he's the smart one. I don't know. I feel like there are deeper elements that just don't come through in a lot of the movie. It's a great, like, sort of time capsule, like, depiction of life of a certain era between two different social groups type of movie. Yeah, but there's a thinness to it that I feel like because I haven't read the books, I don't know how much of a page to screen copy it is. I don't know what's been changed or what hasn't. I feel like this movie could have benefited from a few changes to make it more of an accessible movie. Even though it was a hit and people really loved it, and apparently were very moved by, Johnny and there's two characters who are very similar, Dallas and Daryl. It's because there's
Derry and Dally. That is a very strange choice.
Because, and then the end of this movie is kind of just like a requiem for a dreams itself, in a way, where it's like he dies and then he gets shot by the cops and then everything goes to shit. Overall, it's a good movie. It's just I guess I'd like to see it with the extra scenes because I feel like that would have added a lot to it.
Yeah, and I guess there's the original cut that is, never released, but then a few years ago there was a cut for DVD and Blu-ray that he did put back in some scenes and remove some scenes. So there is a longer cut of this movie that Coppola has put out that kind of restores a little more what he was intending before the studio. The studio meddled.
Let's talk about C. Thomas Howell. Let's talk about the names in this. C. Thomas Howell, who would go on to be a big name in the 80s, but never became as big a name as everyone else in the cast.
Yes.
And also has the misfortune
did help save Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's true. He got all the cranes lined up down the avenue, so that but also has the misfortune of being in one of the most problematic 80s films, looking back, of Soul Man, where he's in blackface.
And with at this point, not that he had a prominent role, but was in E.T. the year before as one of the bicycle kids. So coming off being in the biggest movie ever at the time when this comes out.
It gets to be the more or less the lead of this movie. And then Ralph Macchio, in his probably most other famous role besides Daniel from The Karate Kid, is this movie, which he did right before he was in starting Karate Kid.
And it's funny, I just
crazy.
looked up...
Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez would all do huge things, and then we've been talking about Tom Cruise all summer. So yeah,
he's done well for himself. I just looked up. I meant to do this earlier, but as you were talking, I just looked up everyone's age the year this movie came out. So I think they were probably a year younger when they were making it. And it is funny, not shockingly, Swayze is the oldest, who's playing obviously a character supposed to be a few years older, out of high school. So he was 31 when this came out. But it is funny that the oldest of all the other like teen characters, the actors, is of course babyface Ralph Macchio, who was 22, was older than all the other guys.
And he's playing what seems to be the youngest.
Well, he's 16. They do say that Johnny is 16 and Ponyboy is 14, but there is a line to Macchio, either Diane Lane or her friend says, "I thought you were both 14." So they're kind of acknowledging how young Macchio looks. But he was 22 playing 16 in this, or probably 21 when he filmed it. Diane Lane was probably 17 when she made this, because she was 18 when it came out. But Steve Thomas Howell, only 15 when this movie came out. So it is funny that the movie is built around him. He's he is ultimately the lead, given what happens to Johnny. He was the kid, the actual kid of this bunch.
C. Thomas Howell is playing Ponyboy, not a nickname, which is bizarre because we're
nor is Soda Pop.
Greaser, neither Soda Pop.
Yeah.
And then it's funny, it's like my parents are interesting people, and then when we see the flashback to them like getting killed, it's like they do not look like interesting people. They do not like a couple that would name their kids Ponyboy and Soda Pop.
But also, I might have read the book when I saw the movie. My sister had the book. I remember the cover it was the movie, when they do the cover with the movie characters on it. I may or may not have read it, but I do want to know the story behind Patrick Swayze being the oldest brother, and he's just Daryl. So what happened? Did they just like, oh, we fucked up, we should have given him a crazy name? Was he bitter about that, or was he happy that he had the normal name?
I don't know. And also, is he a greaser? I know there's a line in the movie that says like the only thing keeping him at a greaser is us. Like we're the only ones actually holding him back, because apparently he has a job and actually goes out and does stuff.
And I mean, I guess there's this stuff on the periphery of like stuff we don't know, because when they go to the Rumble, he faces off with a guy who looks really old, but turns out to be his high school classmate. So it tracks, like they're both Woodersons, because the guy's wearing his Letterman's jacket.
Yeah.
So it's like he won't let high school go. But it was like, did Daryl actually hang with the Socs at that point, or were they just always rivals?
Then there's that weird scene where he talks to the Soc in the car, and they just kind of talk about it, during their truce before the Rumble.
I mean, I get the idea of that scene obviously being like, hey, these are just a group of kids, and this is like a moment. They have this nice moment of like, hey, because the guys, it's an interestingly written scene, because the guy is telling him, no matter what happens, you're still going to be a greaser, in a way that could be shitty, but he's kind of saying it's sad, like the way he's directed and acting is like, hey, this doesn't accomplish anything. And that Ponyboy seems to understand that. He doesn't come at him like, fuck you, man. He's like, oh, we were just talking.
It's a Stand By Me element of like, hey, I'm going to write my way out of this town, right? Like maybe that you could take the ending to feel like that, where it's like, I'm going to make something better of myself. Life's just not all rumbles. So yeah, we meet these people. Okay, so the first thing is we meet them. We meet Dallas and then Ponyboy and Johnny, and they're just again walking around town outside, being outsiders. He said we're early. I don't know what we're early for. We see a knife fight. We see cops break it up, and then they're like they're just kind of hanging around all day.
And we have to mention a truly no disrespect to the great Stevie Wonder, but this is not his best work. This terrible song, "Stay Gold."
Oh no, bad song, bad opening song. I think the song that's playing right now though is
Gloria.
Gloria,
which gets played multiple times. It becomes it's treated more as the theme than the actual song written for the movie.
The opening
Gloria's
the
a good
opening
song.
Terrible. I mean, terrible for this movie. Terrible for this moment in cinema at that time.
Yeah.
Separately, it's probably a great song. Stevie Wonder's great.
I think it's a bad song, and I love Stevie Wonder, but no, bad song.
I don't know. I barely remember it except I wrote "ugh" in my notes.
Trish walked by and was, "What's that?"
And then so they go to decide to take in a movie, which means sneaking under a fence and going to the drive-in theater to watch. I guess it's Beach Blanket Bingo. I'm trying to remember the marquee afterward of what the movies were, but it's one of those things where I can't help it. Even in Gremlins, Eric, it bugs me when people in movies don't care about the movies they're watching.
Well, they're making a funny video for TikTok.
I'm just saying that like the movie's on in the background, but they're all talking and living life. And I'm like, what are you doing, people? What's happening?
Goddamn it. You're not going to be able to say a goddamn thing about what happened in this movie later.
Yeah. I'm going to quiz you. You watching, everyone? But so we meet them and we get our first introduction to the Socs, who are a bunch of rich pricks, and Leaf Garrett has apparently tried to make his girlfriend Cherry, played by Diane Lane, do something unspeakable in a car during a drive-in. We can only imagine. And she storms off and decides to sit in, I guess, the bleacher seating. I don't know what it is, but people who didn't drive there and I guess they take walk-ins. Mm-hmm. And she sits with the greasers, and the greasers, for the most part, except for Johnny and Ponyboy, are terrible people and just sexually assault people and sexually harass people. Especially, funny thing is, like, he turns out to be otherwise not a terrible character, the 2-bit character played by Emilio Estevez, but
we're introduced to him as a sex pest.
A sex pest, just going around with his Billy the Kid laugh, which is just Emilio Estevez,
and looking a lot like his dad in Badlands with the look,
Oh man, yeah, he just needed to. I think he just was. Did he have a jacket on? He should have taken the.
No, he did not. Yeah.
So yeah.
And then when we're introduced to Dallas, to Dally, Matt Dillon, because I had no recollection of any of the specifics of this movie. I was like, because he's being so creepy to Cherry with the like, "Are you a redhead?" all over shit. And so I was very relieved when Machio starts telling him to stop it, because I'm like, oh, we're not supposed to think this is lovable. we're like, okay, this is good.
Right. He escalates too. Everyone in this movie, and I did write this somewhere in my notes, everyone in this movie, wild mood swings. I have a bit of advice for everyone in this movie, whether they're a greaser or a Soc.
Yeah.
Hey, calm down, everyone. Just calm down, all of you, because they're just wild mood swings, and he's being creepy and gross toward her, and then like a few minutes later, he actually just grabs her.
Yeah.
But in between that, he does something where if he had maybe done this to begin with, would have come off better, which is like, hey, do you want a soda and popcorn?
Yeah,
something like that. Like, so in between, he like acts like a normal person who may be interested in a girl.
I think at least with Dally, I can allow it, because by the end of the movie, I think we get a better picture of Dally certainly than someone like 2-Bit, which is to say he's been broken by the system. Like maybe he was once a good kid, and you can see parts of that in him, but I
don't need things spelled out for me, but I would like to not just infer everything.
Right.
That's why I want extra scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to like have to make up my own backstory for Dallas.
Right.
But yeah, and this is when we get what seems to be possibly will they, won't they romance throughout the movie that never happens between Ponyboy and Cherry. And it's a nice scene, like them bonding and them finding common ground, and her even saying, if I see you at school, I can't talk to you.
Right.
That there's the class divide is just too big, and I can't sort of like risk everything in that such a public setting. And the scene that got cut for them is that happening at the end of the movie, which is that apparently he does see her in high school at the end, and she ignores him.
Aw.
Yeah,
that sounds like a good sad scene.
But also maybe one that reminds him of what he talked about with the other kid of like, you'll always be a greaser, and that prompts him to start writing his autobiography or whatever it turns out to be. I don't know where Rumblefish plays into this. I don't know if we met the character Rumblefish and we didn't know it.
Dr. Rumblefish.
Dr. Rumblefish. I should also mention that Diane Lane's friend in this movie is the only other movie I have now seen the real genius girl in, which I was like, I've never seen her again, and now I've seen her again. So
wait, the friend she's sitting with at the movie?
Yes.
No, you've seen her. Well, you've seen her in the same things I've seen her in.
I saw her in Real Genius. What else was she in?
So she's Jordan in Real Genius. She is. I've seen her in a couple times this year in Valley Girl. She's one of the Valley Girls, not the main girl.
Yeah, everyone's
and she's in Revenge of the Nerds. I think she's one of the Omega Moos.
I could have picked Valley Girl too for next week, but I didn't. Okay. If I just wanted to continue a Michelle Mayrink fest, I could have picked.
Yeah, because I love her in Real Genius, and only a couple of years ago realized same director, Valley Girl, that she is one of the crew in Valley Girl.
And okay, so then we get sort of a almost fight between the Socs, and we also learned, again, so much of this movie.
We learned that Cherry hates fights. She
hates fights, but also that Johnny had previously been already beaten up by a Soc who had rings on. He's got a scar on his cheek, and that we see the rings as part of I don't know the characters' names. Who gets killed? Leif Garrett gets killed, but what's his character name here? Where are you? Bob and his group. One of them, does Bob have the rings, or does someone in his crew have the rings? Either way, it's this group of Socs that beat up Johnny. And from here, they just kind of walk off, and they walk around the night. And this is when we find out Johnny can't go home. His parents are arguing, and it makes.
And this is where I think it's it's made very clear cinematically that this is bigger than life, in that when they're the trash blowing around them, and the sort of very purposefully melodramatic score by Carmen Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola's father. It's funny because I guess in his new recut, he cut a lot of his dad's score and put in songs. But I actually think the score works for like the mood the movie's doing. And then even when they go to Johnny's house and the way the parents are seen physically fighting in silhouette, it's like kind of comic strip, this sort of bigger than life aspect to it that kind of made me understand that, okay, well, this is, I get the mood this movie is operating at, this near musical, this is not being treated 100% realistic. And
it's, I guess, it's up to the interpretation of the viewer as whether this is all through Ponyboy's lens or in that moment, Johnny's lens, or Coppola's in general, just an overall one. And it's not really centered on any character. Because Ponyboy, when in imagining his parents' death, which obviously he wasn't even there for, is, it gets very operatic too. And so at this point, they can't go home. This is the point of the movie when I start to be like, where is everybody? Where are the outsiders? Where's the poster? Where's everyone hanging around? Because it's very much Ponyboy and Johnny for a long stretch of this part of the movie.
Yes,
he does go home, and he gets shoved. So then we finally meet Derry,
and I want this is also when Johnny has his speech about he wants to go someplace without greasers and socials, and Macchio is really good in this movie. He has a couple big speeches, this one, and then later, obviously after he's dying. But he's very good, very very heartfelt performance here.
And then he gets shoved by I don't even know why Derry's mad really, but he
and
shoves.
And then instantly apologetic to kind of show you that this is not, he's not a, you know, shitty abusive older brother, but it is weird that it even
Unless
happens.
he is, and this
Like,
always
yeah, maybe
happens.
he's always,
I don't know.
maybe he's like Kevin Kline, and he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if he's an
In,
abuser
A
who
Fish Called
always
Wanda.
does, if he's an abuser who always does this and then always apologizes, it's unclear.
It's unclear. You're right. You're right.
It's unclear if this is something that makes Ponyboy not want to go home,
right?
Or if this was really just the first time and last time. We have no idea because we don't dig into a lot of this stuff. We don't know these characters that well. We only get to know two of them pretty much. And that makes them go back outside because they're outsiders, and they stay outside kind of all night until they get stalked by the Socs. And then they get into this big fight, which itself is, as you were talking about, this sort of surreal element of like how we witness things happen as far as the drowning and then the blood effects come about. And
it a little bit of a precursor to Let the Right One In, with when he's being drowned, and how it's done almost in like a crazy sort of again comic booky way, the blood like filling the screen. And Coppola being very kind of showy here with there's a couple different split diopter shots, which is when that's when for those who don't know that term, it's when, because you have to focus on something in a shot, you can't make what's a foreground and background in focus, so you were literally splitting it so you do see them both in focus. And that's, Coppola does that a couple times in this sequence, I noticed, when they're facing off, and then when the corpse is behind Johnny, he makes sure that they're both in focus.
Johnny, also the guy with the rings, is there. I don't remember, it's not in my notes which guy it was, or if Bob was the guy had with the rings.
They definitely seem like they're gonna kill Pony.
No, they're definitely drowning him. So that's the thing. It is self-defense. He does save Johnny's life.
Yes.
He kills Bob. And now, but at this point, Ken, the class divide comes in, and Ken Greasers get a fair shake in a court of law. Will people believe self-defense? Will people believe any of this? They go to track down Dallas, who's in this bar where we see Tom Waits in this movie as sort of the doorman. And here's the thing. It's like, as far as like, he even says to Diane Lane earlier in the movie, Dallas says like, I'm never nice, or I'm, like, this is just who I am, or something like that. But like with Ponyboy and Ponyboy and Johnny, he's like instantly helps them, instantly like kind and considerate, and like a huge big brother to both of them.
Yes.
And looks out for them, again, in a way we don't understand. I don't know what his relationship is to Ponyboy and Johnny, as they're not his family, and how he came to know them. We don't get any of that. But he gives them money. He gives them a loaded gun. I mean, how much?
Well, and also we're getting all. I guess it works more for me with Dallas, with Dylan, because you get enough little pieces that it's intriguing versus other characters where it's like say Derry shoving him. We have no context for if that's a one-time thing or not. But yeah, because he is filled with dichotomies, I think that's kind of the point. And it's like he has that line about man, I thought New York was the only place that ended up in a murder rap. And we find out he did jail time. So it's like, he has a history.
He's lived a life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he also knows exactly where to go hide out, right? So
it's like he's prepared for this.
Like, I have a place to hide. You go here. You can get, there's water to drink and so forth. Stay there. Buy a bunch of bologna and stay there. And so, I guess with that, we also understand that he's got a plan B at all points, like a get out of town plan, a go bag, if you will. But at this point, because we spend such a big part of this next, 10, 15 minutes or more with Soda Pop, I keep saying Soda Pop like he's a big part of this movie, Ponyboy and Johnny, that it's kind of like, where are the other outsiders? They do come in sort of toward the end of the second act because of the rumble, but they really don't all come back together until it's safe for the youngest two to come back into town.
That poster, you were like, where's my goddamn poster?
I was promised outsiders.
Because we see a couple that we meet Rob Lowe and Cruz at the gas station. And then, of course, when we see them at home, Cruz, Lowe and Swayze, but
it's like, are they outsiders or not? Because when I don't see them on screen, I don't know where they are. Are they inside? They should be outside. I know what's happening. Okay, so they go to the church, and this is sort of the long stretch of it's a good sequence of events. I don't understand why people were at that church for the burning or why it caught. I don't understand any of that.
Yeah.
But like the part where they're sort of hiding out and fugitives on the lam, as it were, they don't even know what's going on back in town. They don't even know. There's no communication at all. They're just eating bologna, reading from Gone with the Wind, cutting and dyeing their hair, chasing rabbits, watching sunsets. Again, through this, we learn like the two of them are the sensitive souls of the group, perhaps, or at least ones who are willing to admit to one another that they have sensitive souls. That's not to say that others don't. It's just
they are the Gordy and Chris to do the Stand By Me thing.
Who talk about existential stuff and talking about sunsets. And then this is when Ponyboy starts doing poetry, which we have no setup for. We just don't. We know he's still in school. That's the thing. Others have dropped out. He is still in school. We don't know how well he's doing though. But anyway,
there's a shot I really liked of the two of them talking that's done completely as a reflection in the water upside down. And I was a little sad to hear that Coppola did cut that in his recut of the movie. I was like, well, I like that part. He should have consulted me. I would have said, keep that part.
Yeah, why didn't he talk to Eric Goldman? And this is when we get like the setup for
shots here, the sky behind the church, some very pretty shots, some of which seem to be purposely evoking Gone with the Wind, the movie, of like the beautiful red sort of skyline.
There's a distinction made here that doesn't quite play for me here in 2023. Maybe I don't even know how it played in 1983, which is like they're from a town and they're in the country now. But to me, it all looks the same at this point. It doesn't. Nothing is really just. We don't get an establishing shot of the town they're from. Really, they're walking around it a little bit at the beginning, but we don't see the town square. We don't see that it's a much more bustling burg than where
I don't know, because I see in the reading that it takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I don't know if I ever saw that stated in the movie.
I think that's a book thing. I don't think that I don't think they actually say in the movie.
Which again does beg the question of Dallas lived in New York. Is he from New York? Like, how did he end up in Tulsa?
As someone from New York, he doesn't seem like he's from New York to me. I don't.
So maybe he just went off there.
I don't know.
Went there long enough to get in a murder rap. But yeah, I really like this.
That tracks though. Yeah.
Yeah. The two of them at the church is really good, and the two of them are really good together in that stuff.
That was a joke, by the way. Being able to spot people from New York being from New York. That's I don't want people to think I have like Big Apple Dar or something like that.
Sure.
So Dallas eventually comes and talks to them after we sort of get up a setup for the later death scene, the Stay Gold Ponyboy line. We get a setup for what that might mean, what it means to be gold, and what it means to them, at least as they try to interpret poetry. Dallas shows up, gives them cigarettes and barbecue, and we see catch a glimpse of Sofia Coppola in a walk-on as a little girl.
Credited as Domino, which I want to know the backstory of crediting your daughter. Was that just her thing? Like, as a little.
I want to be Domino. Yeah,
I want to be Domino. Also, it made me wonder if it was correct or not when one of the kids says to the other, "You got a cancer stick." Like
I didn't know if people knew about cigarettes and cancer back in 1967.
I was wondering, if that would have been a term that they would have been saying at that point.
I don't know. I didn't read the book, so is that a line of dialogue from the book? I'm not well versed in the history of cigarettes and cancer and the broad knowledge of it.
And
when the Surgeon General actually started to put warning labels on cigarette packs, I don't know when that happened. Maybe that was addressed. That was addressed in Mad Men, wasn't it?
Mad Men did talk about it. That's why I actually thought about Mad Men too because of that. Because I think they were starting to talk.
So about cancer stick may have worked.
All right.
I'll let.
We'll go with it. This is funny again because Sherry is so off screen. Because we learn she's their spy. They're like, we got a spy. And then it said, but it is important information, which is basically that she will testify that the Sochers were drunk and looking for a fight. That if he turns himself in, that she would say this has to be self-defense.
Even though they did kill her boyfriend, and she kind of went in her conversation with Ponyboy later. It's kind of like she did see the good in him. It's not like she's like, oh, what a creep. I'm glad he's dead. It would have nice to have been to be able to see scenes with the outsiders away from Ponyboy and Johnny. Like we get Dallas scenes by himself by the end, but no one else appears on their own. Like we never get
his brothers, especially. You would have thought,
yeah. We don't see like we could have seen them meet with Cherry. We could have seen some scenes going on back in town while Ponyboy and Johnny are hiding out.
Hell, I mean, Dallas says he's been talking to Cherry, and she sure hates me, but she's helping you. And so I was like, oh, I would have liked to see that.
That sounds like a fun dynamic to watch. But we don't get to see it.
But again, it's funny because I agree with all that, while I also like that, like, I like that in the broad sense, I like that Cherry is like, hey, there were things I liked about my boyfriend. He was also a piece of shit. He also definitely was drunk and looking for a fight, so I will help you because I know that that's how the night was going, ultimately. But she's not on screen that much, so we have to kind of put a lot onto that without actually getting to see it.
But all the stuff that happens off screen is the kids being cleared of murder, I guess the court decision to keep Ponyboy in the home with his older brother is resolved off screen as well, because that seems to be a growing dilemma at one point, and then it just kind of vanishes. But let's talk about the church scene, which is when they go back to that church again, rundown church, a hiding spot for fugitives, and there's a class trip there, or I don't know what's happening. And they've gone in and
I know, it's so confusing.
I
had missed that they were back in the church at first, so I thought they were passing a school or something. You're right. It's baffling. Like, how did they all end up there? Not just a couple kids going off to mess around, the entire class with teachers. And they were all inside. And
it's burning to the ground.
It's burning to the ground. What did these kids do?
Was it a left cigarette, or did they do something? I don't know.
Is one of them a pyro?
And so the two sensitive souls decide that they're going to save the day, and Dallas is like, no, don't do it. But then he, begrudgingly helps.
He doesn't go in, but he does help get the kids out. Yes.
He helps get them out, but also, once the roof collapses on Johnny, everyone's helping Johnny get out, and that's kind of curtains for Johnny. But then they're like heroes when they get back to town. It's a very Tango and Cash headline, as far as like has their pictures too. I don't know where they got them. Maybe school, but
cool. I forgot, by the way, that they definitely. I guess it definitely is reflecting the changing perception of cigarettes, because I forgot about the funny scene where the guy tells Ponyboy, "You shouldn't smoke, son," while he's smoking, and Ponyboy calls him out on that. So I guess there's a whole runner here about cancer sticks.
Well, in a few years, cigarettes would be a huge debate, and they'd start banning them in California in bars and restaurants. That and would
advertising,
come, that would come just like 3 years or 4 years later. So, they're heroes, and that we assume that helps them beat these murder charges. That's just kind of the way this all plays out. And
I mean, we have to read into it that between Cherry and different stuff that, a little, you have to read between the lines there.
Johnny is in a bad way. He is in traction. His back was broken. He's also burned with medical care at the time. He just wasn't going to survive this. It's very telling, though, in the scene when they go visit him, that he says he won't be able to walk again, which is already terrible. And then he doesn't want to see his mother when she shows up. In a scene not included, we do meet his mother, because Ponyboy and Dallas run into her in the hallways of the hospital, and she yells at them. But I don't even know who plays her. But that scene was there. It's not in the movie we saw. But at this point, it's all about the Rumble, which we only kind of hear rumblings about. So again, I do appreciate some of the element of this movie of dropping us in without explanation, because they're talking about the Rumble, but nobody's like, hey, what's a Rumble? And it's like, well, it's a big fight when we all meet up in the woods. And, like nobody says any of that. We just kind of know what a Rumble is. Or maybe when Hinton was writing back in the 60s, everyone knew what a Rumble was, so it wasn't worth establishing. It was like, hey, yeah, there's just rumbles between.
I mean, I think even as a kid at the time, because again, growing up in an era when the 50s were our Stranger Things, like there was so much stuff in the 80s set in the 50s. So I just had the idea of and I know this is 65, but there's that.
I just wonder why there was never a Rumble on Happy Days. And if Fonzarelli was like a big Rumble winner.
I feel like there might have even been talk of a Rumble on Happy. I mean, obviously Happy Days is a sitcom, but I feel like there might have been talk of a potential Rumble that, of course, didn't happen because Arthur Cunningham made a big speech.
I just want to know if the Fonz killed anyone. That's what I want to know.
I mean, Fonz killed a lot of people. We should talk about in the midst of this, you get finally a scene with a bunch of these guys together at the house.
That's the thing. Like, and
you also nearly get Rob Lowe's dick.
When he's coming out of the shower.
In a movie that is just a statement of fact here is objectifying all the hunks, Swayze, Dylan, Lowe, even Cruz, because he has the unbuttoned shirt with no t-shirt. We see all their torsos. We get all the hunky guys get shirtless.
A lot of beef out here.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And IMF shows up together. 2-Bit and Steve.
Yeah, so I think I don't know, you listened to all of our Mission Impossible recaps again, did you? Did we mention in the first Mission Impossible that it was an Outsiders reunion of sorts?
I don't know if we did. I don't think we did. But it was. And
it would be great if it would have been even greater if during the Phelps mission briefing at the beginning of Mission Impossible, if Ethan and Jack were eating chocolate cake very messily, like all over their face.
But I also love when Rob Lowe is like, hey, 2-Bit, Mickey's on TV, and 2-Bit wearing a Mickey Mouse t-shirt runs over to see Mickey Mouse cartoon on TV. This motherfucker loves lifting skirts and watching Mickey Mouse.
He loves Disney and being a sex pest.
Right. Very funny. It's always funny for me how much Mickey Mouse imagery is used in old movies before you had to worry about clearing that, like Friday 13th Part 2 and all these movies where it's just like, yeah, I put a Mickey shirt on him. If we don't care, like, we're not going to call Disney. It's just put a Mickey Mouse shirt on that person.
By now we've got the "We'll Do It for Johnny" scene already. We've got the big
let's do it for
Johnny. They come together in the house. They're talking about the Rumble. It's briefly mentioned that Ponyboy might be sent away to juvie or whatever, or taken out of the home or something like that. And he's worried about it, but that's as far as that storyline kind of goes when they're all together.
Let's do it for Johnny, which, by the way, is a quote I myself didn't realize was from the outset. I knew the Ponyboy one was, but let's do it for Johnny when people would impassionately say, let's do it for Johnny. I did not understand was from this for a long time. But that is after, we should mention, we already talked about the scene, but I just want to mention that's when they have their little powwow when Ponyboy talks to the one Soch in the car who says, I would have let those kids burn to death. And he's like, maybe you wouldn't, if you were actually there. And then it's also after Macho's big scene, which is 16 Years Ain't Enough, very sad, well done, well delivered scene that is basically like, I know I'm going to die scene.
And then there's the Ponyboy Cherry scene where they finally see each other again.
Yeah.
After she's helped them, I guess, beat the murder rap and come back into town. And they leave things very ambiguously. And there's no romance not to be, even though they do sort of say that they like each other. It's just not fated. And the deleted scene where she does ignore him sort of like seals the deal on that one.
One funny thing here
is there's no like forbidden love in this movie.
There's not really. Yeah, it's like it's an almost, but not. But it is funny in the scene with Pony and Cherry. There's a lot of telegraphing for something that doesn't happen, which is Pony says he feels something's awful is going to happen at the Rumble. But Cherry's like, well, there's no weapons, and it seems to be setting up someone's going to bring a knife or a gun.
There's so much weird setup in this movie in general that doesn't pay off. And one of them
the Rumble goes great.
Yeah, the Rumble goes great for the greasers,
right?
Also,
and it doesn't even have we accidentally killed a Soch. Like it does. It kind of is the best way possible. They beat him up. They win the fight.
Well, I think they want to bring everyone to sort of an emotional high before they kill off Johnny and kill off Dallas.
Yes.
And everything
but
goes
the actual Rumble goes well. Yeah.
The other setup is that Pony is sick. Like he has a fever, and I thought like that would play into the Rumble somehow or play into something, and it doesn't.
I do want to mention though, when they're leaving for the Rumble, did you clock Swayze's amazing dance? Because he's obviously a trained dancer whose body is well trained. When he runs up to the the half fence and like springboards, like he like does a total handstand flip over that sucker. I was like, oh, okay. It's just funny that that character, because it's Patrick Swayze, is just like, oh yeah, I can do this amazing thing.
And then we can infer, because that's what we do most of the movie, that this is somebody who had their dreams of being a dancer dashed because of their socioeconomic status.
Right. And then there's a moment same shot that I almost feel like, because these are a bunch of young swinging dicks, and I'm sure there was a lot of like, there's talk about how they were playing pranks on the set and all this stuff. I'm sure they were trying to show himself up, because right after that, Cruise jumps on a car and does a backflip off the car. So I feel like he saw Swayze do that. And it's like,
and I'm gonna jump on Oprah's couch decades from now,
and then I'm gonna jump out of
and then I'm gonna jump off
a motorcycle.
Yeah. I'm gonna dare God to kill me every 3 years. Yeah.
It'd be great if it all goes back to seeing Swayze do that in front of him and feeling he's showing
like,
me up.
How dare he?
Right.
The Rumble goes great. A long
but
sequence
also,
of fighting. Yeah.
Also, but very operatic, because it starts pouring rain the minute the fight starts. We meet Paul in his Letterman's jacket, the leader of the Socias. Again, there's a lot other outsiders, the other greasers that now join this Rumble.
We briefly met another outsider earlier at the movie theater when he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for this other greaser," and he's like, "I haven't seen him." And
well, that's the funny thing is the opening credits, because they do that very specific distinction of who everyone is, and so they include under the greasers,
they include Tim. Glenn Withrow is,
and
Tim,
I thought, oh, poor
once.
Glenn Withrow, who didn't become a star like all the others. But then within the actual movie, he's not on the poster, and he's not actually one of their pals. He's in the movie.
Yeah, it's just weird that he's lumped in with the greasers and not like after everybody, because he's not even part of their crew. So
he's not part of their crew. He's not part of like the Daryl's house hangout group. But yeah, when the fight begins, very operatic, pouring rain, and there's a giant fire that I don't think is there before they start fighting. I was like, how did that? There's something on fire. Again, this is the movie.
And it's like Woodstock 99, right?
Right. And then Matt Dillon has Dallas jumping in, literally running in with no shirt but a jacket on, saying how they're not, he's not going to miss the Rumble, and running. And then Tom Cruise, because again, Steve is the least defined of these characters, but he seems like he's the wild man, because he's like, wah! Like he's a lot. I guess,
Steve. But I mean, Soda barely. Soda's only defined because he's actually related to somebody.
Yes, true.
Like other than that, he's not defined at all. So.
And he cares that his friend sees Mickey Mouse.
So he is a good supportive friend. He's like he always lets every one of his crew know what's on TV at all times
when their favorite show is on. He's like, gotta get over here.
Call him TV Guide, not Soda Pop. When I've got Soda Pop, I don't need a TV guide. And this is when, after this brief win for the greasers, that the movie and the story itself sort of reiterate that one Socia's point about like, you'll win this, but your life's also still going to stink pretty bad, because then the other shoe drops, and they kind of get a good bit of luck when the cop pulls them over. Saying they were going to the hospital, but going to the hospital takes them to Johnny right as he dies, and gets a classic movie line right as he passes away.
And before the Stay Gold Pony Boy, which obviously I've quoted,
it's not even his final line really, because he leaves a note. But
yes, and he gets a whole Macho delivers that, but also the more importantly is he says, it's you, when they tell him about the Rumble, he's like, well, it's useless. Like, he's not like, yay, you won the Rumble. He's like, that's pointless. And then he tells Pony Boy the Stay Gold thing, basically saying like, yeah, you're better. You can get out of this.
Out of this. Yeah. What I wish he had said was, hey, everyone, calm down. Everyone, take it down a few notches, because you're ridiculous.
I mean, he was from the beginning when he was trying to tell Dylan to Dallas to stop harassing Cherry. So.
Johnny just wanted people to calm the fuck down.
He did.
Then this, again, we know Dallas is protective and loves Pony and Johnny.
Yeah.
But like, to send him off this deep end as far as what it does to him. Like, again, it would be nice to have known more about why he's so connected to these two.
It is weird because they have a literal older brother who's very ill-defined.
Yeah.
It's weird because it would have made more sense if, say, the dynamic was, well, their older brother loves them, but he's very cold to them, and this guy became their real older brother surrogate. Yeah, it's like you have to read a lot into why this.
There's no line about like, hey, I don't have a family anymore. My family kicked me out, and you guys are like my new family. There's nothing like that. It's just because he goes totally loopy after Johnny dies, not just before he gets into the drugstore, but
when he pulls the gun on the guy in the hospital
and pulls the trigger, like he pulls.
Yes, yeah. He's
and the doctor's just like, damn kids with their pulling.
That guy deals with that.
Pulling the trigger on empty guns. Yeah.
I guess the greasers are doing that all the time. So he's like,
hey, old man. And then, then he basically does suicide by cop because he gets into trouble knowing the whole time he has an empty weapon and gets surrounded by the cops. And it's not even like a quick death. It's like they shoot him a lot and he crawls. And it's all witnessed by his friends.
Oh, and we skipped over a terrible mistake in the movie, Matt. An unforgivable moment when he's in the convenience store and he's looking at comic books and magazines.
Oh no! What's wrong? What's anachronistic here?
Captain Carrot. That was introduced in 1982, when the year this movie was being filmed. There was no. So
they didn't even clean out the racks and put in like era-appropriate periodicals.
No. And I'm gonna do an hour-long YouTube video about this.
Captain Carrot should have been one of the nicknames for the greasers. It's better than Steve. That's for sure.
Actually, I'm going to do my theory on the time travel aspect of this movie that no one's explored.
That Dallas is actually a Nexus being,
yes,
who can connect multiverses.
Yes, that's what's happening in these final sequences.
All right, So they all get to witness the death by cop.
Yeah, they see it all happen. Yeah,
and literally,
he literally says, "You're never going to get me alive." I was like, "Wow."
They end the movie kind of with this. I mean, there's another part with the Gone with the Wind book and the note and stuff like that, read aloud, and then, but that's kind of the end of the movie. And it's
the end of the story in the theatrical version. But yeah, like, because then all that's after is him reading Johnny's note. And again, it's this, cheesy, but I say that in air quotes because it's purposely melodramatic. The showing Johnny literally reading it while you're also seeing Dallas, because it's about, because the three of them are like the three central characters, and basically him saying, help Dallas get better, which we know won't happen. The Dallas will not be fixed. And it does.
I mean, Dallas is solved. Let's put it that way. Maybe
he is solved, but he's not solved by appreciating sunsets the way Johnny hoped. But it does work. I think the movie on its terms, again, because it is playing at this level, like, it is effective. This is a bummer, but it is effective. And, because your inkling of hope is that, I think, yes, you can suppose that he's starting to write. He's the intellectual. There were two intellectual boys and only one's left. And that he, will hopefully have a better life by telling the story about these damn outside kids.
Maybe I should have picked for next week's main event the short-lived Outsiders TV series from 1990.
I vaguely recall that. I remember seeing commercials. It was Fox, right?
I am actually very curious to watch this now. It is Fox, and
it was a sequel. It picked up.
Was it?
Yes, it picked up. So Johnny's not in it because
I was gonna say Dallas and Johnny are probably out of it, but I do see that David Arquette plays Two-Bit, the Emilio Estevez character.
Yes, he does.
Kim Walker is Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if anyone else stands out.
Billy Bob
Thornton, a young Leonardo DiCaprio is also Boy Fighting. Who is J.R. Ferguson? Who's that guy? I don't know. He's Stan from Mad Men.
Okay. Oh, a little Stan.
Yeah, bearded Stan. That's cool.
Yeah,
Plays Pony Boy.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I didn't know that was a sequel. I was more interested to see it as a remake or as an actual adaptation of the book.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this Outsiders lost half the viewers from its lead-in, Married with Children. So it was canceled after one season.
I am reading the plot descriptions of the episodes on the Wikipedia page, including the finale, directed by Bill Duke, in which a desperate dairy joins a group of laborers unaware he's crossing a picket line.
Oh
Formed by
no.
Tim's union. Ponyboy sees the good life as he tutors a track star. All right. Bill Duke directed a bunch of episodes.
Gary's a scab. He did. Look at him. I do wonder when Bill Duke's directing career started. Right, like it was in the 80s. Like he started when he was still acting, right? Like
yes, but this would have probably been around the time that he was starting to. Bill Duke, if you don't recognize the name, he's in Predator, but he was in a bunch of stuff. But he also became a successful director. Right. But yes, I vaguely remember this show. I did not know until reading about it last night that it was a sequel. Oh, and Robert Russler was in it. I see. Who he is Grady in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. He is the other asshole bully in Weird Science who's not Robert Downey Jr. He's a bunch of 80s stuff.
Yeah. I know. And then and Nightmare and Freddy's Revenge, who's the friend, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Tim isn't Tim the guy who's like barely in the movie but gets the credit as though you'd think he would be?
Yep.
Okay.
So maybe this is more of an expansion on Tim's character.
Yeah, Tim's story.
So for more on Tim, watch Outsiders, the TV show.
That's right.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, I enjoy this movie. It's I get its popularity. I get why it's has sort of a still pop culture cachet because well, first and foremost the cast, because of obviously they hit gold with the casting there and the fact that
they stayed gold.
They stayed gold. But then it does like again, it was interesting to me because we watched Dracula, also based on a novel, also very purposely heightened. But I think this one works a little better, even though it also has some things that could have been, fixed.
We didn't talk about it a lot up top because I think a lot of our listeners just kind of know it already. But seeing as how we did Dracula, we're talking about how the 80s and 90s until he went to Godfather Part 3 were a big stretch out for what Coppola was known for, him trying very different things.
Yeah.
As far as like his huge heyday is in the 70s from the two Godfather films and Apocalypse Now and The Conversation, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That like the Hinton verse twofer in 83 was also him sort of doing something different. And it wouldn't be the last time that he would do that, because he would also go, do stuff like he would do more period pieces, right? So he was always doing them, but like Cotton Club and Peggy Sue Got Married were part of his 80s too. It was just an interesting because this is a huge director and on par with like at the time Scorsese and Spielberg and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what an interesting thing that he did these
much
two movies
smaller movies like this than we were used to seeing him do, especially after the production that was Apocalypse Now. Was there a movie between this and Apocalypse Now, or is it?
I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if there wasn't.
Because there's a 4-year gap.
That movie took a lot out of him.
Took a lot out of everybody. So,
and by the way, I'm reading here stage musical adaptation, which premiered this February in La Jolla. Again, this feels like a musical, so it's funny that it took so long.
It would lend itself very well to a musical. One from the Heart.
The only problem is like, how do you not? One from the Heart was in between. Okay. The only problem with doing a musical this is because it already feels like West Side Story. Like not as much because the cherry thing doesn't go anywhere. It's not, because West Side Story is literally Romeo and Juliet. So here that's like, it's a tiny little part of the story that doesn't become the focal point. So
I'm looking at the cast for Rumblefish just to see if any of the characters, because from what I know, it is a shared universe. It doesn't mean that the stories have the same characters. I was just seeing if anyone played the same character, like if Diane Lane is Cherry or something.
Oh, right.
She is not. She is Patty. I do see, though, that Sofia Coppola is back, as is not back, but also S.E. Hinton, the author, has a cameo as a prostitute. So,
because she was one of the nurses in the hospital.
Oh, was she? Was she a nurse? Okay.
Yeah. Near the end, she's a nurse in the hospital. So that same character, she's playing the same character.
Well, I can't wait for Megalopolis because I hope that's my favorite Hinton novel. All right. That was The Outsiders. I hope you enjoyed our chat. Again, this is my first time seeing it or knowing about the story at all, really, aside from that it involved the people on the poster who weren't together enough to warrant that poster. But yeah, you know what kind of poster it needed? It needed one where there were just a bunch of like Marvel heads floating.
Johnny Boy and Johnny most central, and you put Dallas behind them as the big head, and then you put everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, and then but in the center below, the way Nick Fury is on the Marvels poster is Soda Pop in his towel.
There you go.
All right. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. Stay gold and shock.
Shockma.
Know what you would do